I've always found platformers to be comforting. They usually don't blow my mind, but they also don't demand too much from me, which is actually kind of preferable sometimes when I just want to unwind and zone out. And the Ratchet and Clank series has always been perfect for this, marrying fast-paced combat and movement with a very light-hearted narrative. And I'm happy to say that the latest game in the series, Rift Apart, may be my favorite one so far. Hi, I'm Mike, and welcome to the Lion's Lounge. Today we'll be talking about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and making a cocktail inspired by the most over-the-top weapon in the game. Now, chances are you've at least heard of Ratchet and Clank, but if this is your first game in the series, don't sweat it. There are definitely callbacks to prior games, but as with a lot of platformers like it, it's highly accessible to newcomers. I've played a handful of them myself, and there's commonalities that are maintained and refined in each iteration. The most obvious one being the two protagonists, Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet is a Lombax, essentially a feline humanoid and the last of his species, and Clank is a self-aware robot. And while there is far more to their stories, for the purposes of this video, I'll be focusing on Rift Apart. Without spoiling much, the game opens with Ratchet and Clank accepting an award of heroism for all their past endeavors saving the universe, with a short walk down memory lane to help bring new players up to speed. Clank also surprises Ratchet by revealing he's repaired a device called the Dimensionator, that, as the name suggests, would allow them to travel to other dimensions in the hopes of reuniting Ratchet with his people. Before they get the chance though, the duo is attacked by their arch-nemesis, Dr. Nefarious. And in all the confusion, the Dimensionator is damaged, causing a massive rift and forcing Ratchet, Clank, and Dr. Nefarious into an alternate dimension. The heroes are separated, and Clank quickly discovers something unexpected. Ratchet's counterpart, a female Lombax named Rivet, who's also the last of her kind in her timeline. What's more, Dr. Nefarious has already succeeded in taking over the universe here, and rules as Emperor. Now split apart, Ratchet and Clank must work together, with Rivet and a new robot Kit to reunite, stop Dr. Nefarious, and fix the Dimensionator to return to their time. Like all the games in the series, it's a pretty straightforward plot, but it's nonetheless enjoyable, especially the new characters in Rivet and Kit, both of whom provide some great variation to our established cast. I mean, just look at her. She's got a robot arm, she's badass. I'm not gonna spoil more of the plot, but I do want to quickly touch on the gameplay. As I said earlier, every game in the series further refines the core combat and movement, and Rift Apart is the best one so far. It's an incredibly polished game for how beautiful it looks to how fluid the controls are. There is some jankiness with invisible walls and boundaries that have been present since the days of early 3D, but other than that, it's a tight package, and the perfect game to get if you want to see what the PS5 is really capable of. Combat is pretty much the same as previous titles, having a wealth of weaponry, with the one major addition being that you can utilize dimensional rifts, both to unlock hidden items and for quick ways to get around enemies for more variability. Overall, I found it incredibly enjoyable. It's been a few years since the last Ratchet and Clank game, and I'm happy that the formula hasn't gotten stale. So finally, while on the subject of weapons and combat, this brings me to the cocktail that I'll be making, which was inspired by the craziest weapon in the game and one that is different in every iteration. This being the ultimate weapon, the R.Y.N.O 8, which the R.Y.N.O stands for Rip You a New One. The weapon is always over the top, but this version takes the cake. Mild spoilers for it, so if you want to be surprised, skip to the timecode in the description below where I'll be making the cocktail. So this version of the R.Y.N.O summons creatures from not just the Ratchet and Clank universe, but from other Sony games like Jack from Jak and Daxter, the Thunderjaw from Horizon Zero Dawn, and even Sly Cooper. It's such an awesome Easter egg for fans of Sony's games to have these characters show up in Ratchet and Clank and fight alongside you as a reward for unlocking the ultimate weapon. So with something so bombastic, I knew I needed to make a cocktail equally crazy. And what kept coming to mind over and over is a Bloody Mary. Now, hear me out if you're confused. Bloody Marys can be simple, but a lot of them are ridiculously overdone with toppings, some seeming extremely random. And while I'm not gonna go as crazy as incorporating a slice of pizza or a sandwich, I'm definitely gonna add a lot. And honestly, I've been dying to want to try this as I've never actually made a Bloody Mary before. So without further ado, this is my version of the R.Y.N.O. So this one you're gonna build in a glass. So take a highball glass and crack some ice into it. Then add 2 ounces or 60 milliliters of vodka. Next, 4 ounces or 120 milliliters of tomato juice. And then I want to cut this back a little bit with some tartness, so I'm going to add half an ounce or 15 milliliters of lemon juice. Next, just a little bit of garlic powder. Then just half a bar spoon of horseradish. Be very careful, this will overpower the drink if you use too much. Next, a bar spoon of Worcestershire. Next, a bar spoon of Worcestershire. Next, a bar spoon of Worcestershire. Next, a bar spoon of Worcestershire sauce. Close enough. And lastly, just a dash or 2 of Tabasco sauce. Now just give this all a stir. And here's where the fun part comes in, adding all the toppings. So as typical with a Bloody Mary, I'm gonna use a stalk of celery. Especially one like this where it has a lot of leaves left over, so it's nice and big and ostentatious. And then instead of my usual cocktail picks, I'm gonna be using this little wooden spear because I just have too many components to fit on that pick. So I'm gonna start with a jalapeno pepper, then a grape tomato, next a cube of Monterey Jack cheese, then a baby dill pickle, and lastly a cooked shrimp. Then I'm just gonna put this right on top. Now, still not quite done, I'm lastly gonna finish it off with a slice of bacon. Tuck that right in there. And then just drop in a straw where you can find space. And there you have my Bloody Mary variation for the R.Y.N.O. Cheers. Whew. Man, this is wild. Okay, I'm gonna start this by saying I'm not the biggest fan of Bloody Marys. I don't really get what all the hype is, but I do respect just the level of craziness involved with making this. Do I hate it? No. I'm a little surprised at how the tomato juice is there, but the horseradish is kind of the primary flavor you get. I get just a hint of that garlic powder, which is nice. There's some slight tartness from that lemon juice, which I think helps balance out the flavors a little bit. The vodka is completely gone. You can't taste any alcohol in this drink. More or less, it's kind of just a very sweet horseradish flavor, and not the biggest fan of horseradish, but it's pretty decent. I can totally see why people may want to drink these in the morning because it definitely would wake you up. Just this taste alone it's very strong. I'll also say that putting this right up against that bacon is nice because I get some saltiness from it. I'd be interested to see if after a while leaving that bacon in there kind of like soaks into it and gives it some more of those notes. Other good thing of having the bacon right up there in front of your face is you smell it and it just smells so good. Overall, did I succeed in making an incredibly over-the-top cocktail for the R.Y.N.O? Yeah. Is it my favorite cocktail? Hell no. Maybe you'd enjoy it if you're really into Bloody Marys. I can maybe finish this one, but try and make it for yourself and let me know what you think. And if you have any other cocktails you'd like me to make from your favorite series, let me know in the comments below as well. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a like, and if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to see what I make outside this channel, follow me on Twitter at Mr. Spacelion or Instagram at Mr.Spacelion. But friends, thank you so much for stopping by the Lions Lounge. I've been your bartender, Mike, and I hope to see you next time.